Richard Prosser.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, just last week we were told a man in Dubai prevented lifeguards from going to the assistance of his daughter who was drowning, and he did so because of his ideological beliefs. To us that seems incomprehensible, Mr Speaker, that a parent will let their own child die rather than break the protocols of a belief system which they have chosen to adhere to based on nothing more than their unproven faith in a particular ideology. It is incomprehensible. By the same token, Mr Speaker, it's incomprehensible that a government could stand by and watch while a business entity owned by the state is allowed to effectively drown in a sea of debt because its own adherence, made by choice, to an ideology based on faith in a failed system of non-intervention prevents it from doing so. It is madness, Mr Speaker. It is economic madness to allow a business to fail, a business which is based around the extraction of a valuable resource, a resource that belongs to the nation and its people, a resource which costs us nothing, a resource for which we are not required to pay anybody else a royalty, and a resource which is valuable and for which there is a ready world market. It is economic madness for the government to allow any such business to fail simply because stepping in to shore it up flies in the face of their own chosen ideology. People's lives are dependent on the validity of solid energy, Mr Speaker. The workers, the contractors, the suppliers, the communities based around the mines, the regions where those mines and communities are located. I think National simply doesn't care, Mr Speaker. They might make all the right noises. They will stand in this House and spout platitudes. They will make unending references to their fine economic management and their skills in business and how the opposition doesn't understand these things and so on. We've heard it all before and I'm hearing it all again today. But the truth is they have an agenda as far as solid energy is concerned. They've had it right from the start and now they've found a way of bringing it to fruition. Solid Energy's own statement of corporate intent from July 2013 states, and I quote, "In February 2013, Solid Energy entered a support agreement with its major lenders following a sustained downturn in international coal markets with the resultant impact on profitability, cash flow and balance sheet, which threatened the company's banking covenants." So as far back as 2.5 years ago, Mr Speaker, it was obvious that Solid Energy was not going to be in any state to be flogged off with the rest of the assets this government was putting up for sale. They'd always intended that it be put on the block, along with the power companies and anything else that was worth a buck and wasn't nailed down. But the downturn in world coal prices put the kibosh on that. So instead of replanning to ensure Solid Energy's future, this government decided it could wait for the next opportunity to come along. And it seems they've found that opportunity, Mr Speaker. Solid Energy's press release from this morning, in point 1 of the bullet-pointed list, proclaims as the first of its key terms of its proposal, Solid Energy will engage an investment bank and undertake an orderly, managed sale of its assets over the next 2.5 years. So they get their sale through a fail, Mr Speaker. This government never had any intention of saving Solid Energy. That's right. It never wanted to. It always planned to sell it off, and now that's what's going to happen. Doesn't need to, of course. As was pointed out by New Zealand First only a few days ago, Air New Zealand proves that Solid Energy can be saved. Solid Energy, teetering on the brink of becoming the largest ever state-owned enterprise to fail, Air New Zealand's recovery proves that the business can be turned around. That's true. It is only in the mess that it's in because of incompetence by Treasury's Commercial Operations Group and National's hands-off approach. We are very lucky that National wasn't in government when Air New Zealand nearly went to the wall, because now it's one of the most profitable in the world. And it took a government prepared to invest in new management to effect the turnaround. Mr Speaker, coal is central to steel production and we have not yet touched the potential of underground coal gasification, clean coal technologies, or the hundreds of years of proven lignite reserves in Southland to make us independent in terms of urea or to be turned into diesel. The lack of government oversight allowed a pile of debts to be built up. If the government was serious about the regions, it would get off its backside and lift that debt burden so Solid Energy under sane management could prosper just the same way that Air New Zealand has. But they're pressing on regardless, hell-bent on flicking off this gem of an asset to their mates overseas, which highlights the absolute farce of this government's ideological positioning, Mr Speaker. If we break it down, it works like this. Solid Energy engages an investment bank and undertakes an orderly managed sale of its assets over the next 2.5 years. So that means someone will buy them. Who? People with money. And that means foreigners, of course. And why will they buy those assets, Mr Speaker? Because they can make money out of them. That's right. Because they are profitable. No one buys a coal mine with the intention of closing it down, Mr Speaker. They buy a coal mine because there is a market for coal and that coal can be mined and sold out of profit. And if the foreign buyer can mine the coal and sell it and make a profit, Mr Speaker, why can the state as owner not do the same thing?